Hey guys, welcome to excelfornoobs.com and subjectmoney.com. What I'm going to do here is a quick crash course on Microsoft Excel 2016. Obviously I'm not going to be able to cover everything in Excel, but this is a tutorial for beginners, so I'm going to go over the most basic Excel features that you will need to use to be at least somewhat proficient in Microsoft Excel 2016. Okay, so before you do anything, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel for plenty of Excel tutorials and tips, along with finance and business lessons. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to start with is formulas and functions. Formulas and functions is really what makes Microsoft Excel so powerful. Basically, any kind of number crunching that you would have to do, Excel does it for you. Almost an infinite number of possibilities. So things that used to back in the day would have taken you hours or all day, you can do in a matter of a minute using this program. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to cover is addition. Okay, so in Excel, the first thing you have to do to let Microsoft Excel know that you're entering a formula into a cell is you enter the equal sign. That tells Excel that I'm about to enter in a formula into cell address B6. So that's column B, row 6. I'm about to enter in a formula. So for addition, you can manually enter in anything you want by manually typing in the numbers and the addition operator, which is the plus symbol. So for example, I got equals 4 plus 4. And then I'll hit the enter key, and there I have my result of 8. And I can do that, continuously. 3 plus 2 plus 8 plus 29, and there I have my result. Okay, now what most people use Excel for is to refer to other cells for our results. That way we can change the numbers in the cells, and our result will, it's dynamic. Our result will change with the cell. So just for an example, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. We can do equals cell B4 plus cell B5. Okay, and you see our result. 20 plus 34 equals 54. Now what happens if we if something changes and we want to change the number in one of the cells? Well, there I changed it to 25, and our result changes immediately. 19, and our result changes. And we can refer to cells that refer to other cells. So let's just say cell B4 refers to cell F4 equals. All I do is equal, and that means that cell B4 is going to be equivalent to whatever is entered into cell F4. So there, 23. And now, whatever we change over here in cell F4 will change our result over here, because cell B4 is referring to cell F4. Okay, now let's manually enter a number back into B4. Okay, so you can manually enter in formulas, or you can use the AutoSum formula, and all you would do is you would click on the cell, go up here to the formulas tab, and right here, and you're going to see AutoSum. What it does is it automatically adds up a total of cells that have consecutive numbers appearing in them. So right there, I just clicked on AutoSum, and it recognized that there were rows that consecutively had numbers inserted into the cells, and it assumed that we want to sum up those cells, and that's correct. So then I press enter, and I have a result. Okay, another way to do the sum formula is to hit equals sum, and now we select a range of cells, and then we have to close our parentheses. So again, just so you see that, any formula, when you enter a function, you're going to open up the function, you're going to open parentheses, and you'll insert your argument inside the parentheses. And right here, you can see it tells us how to enter our argument. Not all functions are the same. Some functions only require one argument, two arguments, or an infinite number of arguments, such as a sum. Some formula, some function, you can add as many numbers as you want together to get the sum. So I could select a range of cells there, close it, press enter, and I have my result. I can also do it by opening it up. I can select a range of cells, a large range of cells, vertical or horizontally, press enter, and there I have my result. You can also do equals sum. You can only select specific cells. Now I'm selecting a cell there. Now I'm pressing the control key and then selecting the cells that I want. That way I can exclude certain cells for whatever reason. Once I'm done, I close it. Okay, so now I believe you have a pretty good understanding of how to enter in formulas and the sum function. Now subtraction, you just you can do it manually. Equals 20 minus 5. You just use the hyphen or the minus symbol. That's your operator for subtraction. So, or you can do equals cell C4, or any cell you want, minus cell C5. And again, everything's just the same as what we did with the sum. Minus, and I'm doing this manually. I'm just hitting the hyphen or the minus symbol and selecting the cells that I want to subtract. And I can mix it up, cell reference and manual entry. There. Okay, multiplication. Again, we can manually enter in multiplication. Our operator for multiplication is going to be the asterisk. So say we want to multiply 5 by 5. We would hit equals 5, asterisk 5, and press enter. There we have a result. We can also refer to cells. Equals cell D4, asterisk, or times cell D5. Okay. You also have the product function. So you could do product, open your parentheses, and I can and then I select a range of cells just like we did with the sum function, and then I close my parentheses, and there I have the product of 76 and 12. And the product function, we can select a large range of cells. Another thing you can do is once you start typing in your function, you can just select it here, and I'll select specific cells. Okay. Double click it. Okay, now let's move on to division. Now, for division, our operator is the /, so I can just hit equals /. And remember, you can enter these manually or refer to cells. Or you have the quotient formula right there. You can see it popping up. Double click it. We have, now you see in the quotient formula, you have the numerator. Your argument consists of two numbers, the numerator and the denominator. So we can select our numerator, and then we hit a comma to separate them, and our denominator, and now we close our argument, press enter, and we have a result. That's just showing 1 because it's rounding. We can move our decimal places. Okay, there's some other formulas as well, other functions. We could find the average. I mean, anything you can think of that's math related, you can find it on here. And there we have the average of all of those numbers. You know, you could do the square root. Here I'm typing in, okay, there it is, square root. And you can see that only one number for the square root, so we'll find the square root of 45. We'll close our argument. And there's our result. Okay, you can also combine formulas. You need to know the order of operation, obviously, whenever you start combining formulas, because you know, you want to get the right result. If you don't know the order of operations, especially if you're entering in things manually, you know, you're gonna look pretty stupid whenever your result comes out not as expected, because you don't know something that most people learn in grade school. Okay, so let's mix some up. We'll do the sum of those two numbers plus the product of, and you can just see I'm just kind of mixing things up. Then let's manually times. Now here's where we know the order of operation. Let's say we want to add two numbers together before they're multiplied by the rest of the formula. So there we have, you can see the sum of two cells plus the product of two other cells times two manually entered in numbers. Hit enter and you get a result. And you can mix those up all sorts of different ways. You could equals sum, the sum of, and then you could enter in a form like a nested functions. Product of these two plus the quotient and now you have to close, so you have to close your parentheses, because in here and the sum, you have to close your sum function is what you're doing there, and then you have two functions. But basically you can see that I'm combining formulas, and there you have a result, and it works. Okay, another function, if you want to see your formulas, you go up here to the formula tab. Right now you only see your results. Come over here to the formula auditing. You can click on the show formula. Right here you can see your formulas instead of your results. So you can distinguish what cells have formulas and which cells are you have manually entered in content. Okay, and then finally, I mean, like I said, Excel has an infinite number, it seems, of functions. You come up here to the function library, you can find your recently used functions, financial functions, logical functions. If you scroll over, it's going to give you an explanation. You can click on tell me more and it will describe the function for you. It's going to actually connect online, so you need an internet connection whenever you're doing this. One other thing, you can insert a formula using the insert function dialog box. And there you can insert your formula, your arguments. For example, this is the, let me just completely clear that, the content. Now I'll press insert function. Okay, I can describe like a function, add numbers together. And now Excel, with a brief description, Excel will find the function that I need. Press go. Okay, right here in the list, you can see the sum function is in there. multiply, okay, go, the product function shows up. And then you can enter in your arguments separately, so you can do it manually, or you can enter in the cells into each argument. So I could do cell, you can select your cells or manually enter them in, press OK, and you'll get your result. Okay, so that you should have a decent understanding of formulas. That's a very important part of Excel. Now I'll move on to cell reference. So you've already kind of went over referring to cells somewhat. Now this will get a little bit more advanced. Okay, so let's say we have we plan on investing $5,000 a year into a savings account or to mutual funds, and we just want to see how much money we'll have saved up over the next 10 years. And we have different options. We have a savings account, low risk mutual fund, medium risk mutual fund, or high risk. Down here I have the returns that each fund will provide, or is estimated to provide. Okay, so here these are going to be basically our balances. So right here, our balance in each account we're saying is $5,000. Okay, so what we're going to do, we got to refer to cells for this, is we're going to enter a formula. So the formula to account for saving money every year and accounting for the interest that the account earns each year, our formula is going to be equals our balance year for the year ending times 1. Now here you need to know the order of operations. You can see why that's important. 1 plus our interest rate. And then, so that's going to take our savings amount that's already in the year, so that'll earn full interest for 2016, and it's going to multiply it by 1 plus the interest rate. Okay, and then we have to add in, we will also be depositing our investment. Okay, so watch what happens. I referred to cells in there. Now I'm going to use the autofill command by selecting this, and when I drag this over, Excel will automatically fill these cells in for me. And then you can see here the numbers are too big for the cell width, so I can make the cell wider by double clicking in between two cells, or I can select all the cells that I need to increase the width and then double click. Okay, there's a problem here. Let me show the formula. We're referring to, you can see that our cells right here, you can see we're referring to now, instead of our interest rate for the savings account, the formula here is referring to cell C9. This is because when we dragged our when we automatically filled each cell in over, it dragged, because we're referring to cells, it moved them over relative to its location in the workbook. So for example here we're referring to cell, in cell C3 we're referring to these three cells. See that? Cell C2, B3, and B9, and then when I click here, we're referring to cell C3, D2, and C9. You can see the cells we're referring to are highlighted right here with different colors. They all move over. So when we drag it, the cell reference moves relative to the location along with it. Okay, there's So that's good for these two numbers because we want to add the previous year balance plus the current that year's investment. But we're referring to an interest rate which is fixed in cell B9. So the way we can do that is for cell B9, I'm going to press F4. Now you can see I have the dollar symbol in front of cell B, in front of column B and row 9. So now what that's going to do is it's going to fix that reference to cell B9 by adding the dollar symbols. That part of the formula referring to that cell remains fixed. Okay, let me go back over here. So let me drag this over, that formula over, and watch our results change because we're accounting for interest. It didn't change much because the interest rate in the savings account is so low. Now let me go to show formula, and you can see. Now look, cell C3 and D2, our balance and our investment are moving over relative, but because we have the dollar symbols set in there, it's remaining fixed over here. So now we're accounting for interest. Okay. Now we can even we can mix it up. Let's say that I'm going to redo a formula equals. Okay, now for our low risk mutual fund equals our balance times 1 plus the interest rate for our low risk mutual fund. Now we close that and close that, plus our previous year investment. Okay, now the same thing happens if we drag this over. Look, they move over relative. So let's fix this. Now what we want to do, I'm going to click on our interest rate reference. I'm pressing F4. See, I can rotate through all the different types of cell reference. Fixed, or absolute, which is fixed, or mixed, or no reference at all. So I'm pressing F4. Okay. Let's say I want to remain fixed in that column, but I can change the rows. So watch what happens. Let me drag this over. Autofill, and we're accounting for interest. But now I can drag this down and our cell reference will not move to the right with the rows, but it will move down for the columns because we have different interest rates for different funds. I did that by mixing the interest rates. So you can see here, not that because I have the column fixed, but not the rows, now it remains. But whenever I drag, when I automatically filled the balance in for the years, it remained fixed in column B. But whenever in column B, so it didn't keep moving over columns because I had the column fixed with the dollar symbol there. However, when I came down rows, it did move relative to the row that I was located in. Okay, so that should have give you a decent understanding of cell reference. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and show you some of the other features of Excel. Those are really the two most important features of Excel. Without that, Excel would just look pretty, but you'd have to spend a lot of time doing your own math. So just that alone, you've learned the two most important parts of Excel. But there's definitely other things such as formatting and data entry and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a worksheet. What I'm going to do is create a simple sales forecast. I'm for a company that rents out pontoon boats, jet skis, and kayaks. Okay, so I'm just entering in my data there. Now remember, if we see right here in cell C3 it doesn't fit, I can just double click, or I can manually drag to the width that I want. Okay, so we have our pontoon boats, jet skis, and kayaks, and let's say we're going to operate for starting in March, since it's a seasonal business. Okay, so we have March. Excel automatically knows that recognize that I entered in a month. I can just use the Autofill command, and let's say we're going to operate until August. Okay, now let me go ahead and copy and paste. So what it is, I just copied that range of cells and I pasted it. What it did was it copied the content and it pasted it down here. Okay, let's say that we charge per hour $100 for pontoon boats, not 400. $80 for jet skis and $25 for kayaks. Okay, let's say that so now what we want to do is we'll enter in a formula. Let's say in March we rented out pontoon boats for the month of March. We'll just say $100 hours times our price. Okay, jet skis, say rent them out for 120 hours, and then again times our price per hour. And for kayaks, let's say we rented them out for we have a bunch of them, so let's say 500 hours, and then again times our price per hour. Okay, now what we'll do is, let's say that we expect a 15% growth each month. Obviously I'd do some real analysis, but this is just for learning purposes. So we'll do our equals our previous year times 1.15. Now we can use the autofill command to drag this over for each month. And we'll do the same thing, equals times 1.15. I'm using the autofill command, dragging that over. And again, that formula is referring to the cell to the left times 1.15, so I can actually just fill that formula in down because it's the same formula, just relative. And then I can use autofill and drag this over. Okay, now here, let's enter in a totals column. Then the sum function, which you learned. There's our sum for March. Now we can use autofill, drag this all the way over. So there's our monthly totals. And we can also have totals over here for each item, each rental item. Drag that down. And down here in the corner we will have our totals for the entire business. Okay, so you can see, I mean, we have our content entered, but it looks, it does look pretty bland. So let's go ahead and do some formatting. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is let's get our numbers formatted. You can see here that we have it's just regular numbers, but this is going to be dollar symbols because we're operating a business in America according to this. So all I got to do is I select the cell, I select the content, the cells that contain content that I want to change, and then obviously we have down here. So I'm going to press Control, and there you can see I'm selecting multiple ranges of cells by holding the Control tab or key. Now up here you can select from currency, accounting, all sorts of different number formats. So I selected currency. Now let's say we want to get rid of the decimals. We just want to round this. So right up here in the number, we can just change our decimals. And now we got rid of decimals. We're not showing cents, just dollars. And again, let's go ahead and resize our cells to fit. So I'm just selecting the entire worksheet. I'm resizing it by selecting it. I'm picking a spot in between two columns and double clicking. And you can keep double clicking as you enter in content. If something doesn't fit, you can keep resizing your cells until you're complete, until you're finished. Okay, now I'll go ahead and format some of our cells. Let's format the cells, not the content. So here for July, well actually before we do that, I'm going to show you something else. So let me go ahead and copy everything that I have here. Or actually I'll just copy this, pressing Control C. So now I'm copying that entire range of cells. Now I'm going to open up a new worksheet within this workbook. So I'm pressing that plus button right there, pressing Control V. Now I'm not referring, I don't have the cell reference here. So you can see that there's a problem even though we copied it. Because I didn't carry this over right here, it didn't refer to the cells. And it could also be because I entered it into cell C3 instead of cell C2. But that's not why. Okay, now you're going to learn something. You can go ahead and delete cells because I moved that up. I'm going to delete a row because it's duplicated there. So I click on row 7, right click, and delete. Now you can refer to other worksheets, or I can copy and paste this, the whole thing, actually, just like this. I can copy and paste this entire range of cells, and then it would work. Another thing I can do is I can copy and paste this entire worksheet by selecting this button right here, right in between the column and rows in the corner. Press Control C. Click there, press Control V. That copy and pasted the entire worksheet. And finally, I can format my worksheet tab by right clicking. I can rename it Sales Forecast Table. And I can also give it some colors, a different color. So just ways to make your workbook look prettier and more fancy. Okay, so let's get back to the original sales forecast because we're going to start formatting cells. Okay, so I'm going to select the months and let's go ahead and fill that with the color. And I'll fill those cells. I'm just selecting those cells and I can fill them with any color that I want. And then we'll give our totals a little bit different, a special color. If I want, I can add borders. So let's add a border here to totals. So it's add borders. I'm going to select this row right here in the font, come down, and I can select, or I can add borders. We'll add a double bottom border just to keep it separate. And another thing we can do, let's say we want to just go ahead and give this thing a title. I can select the cells all the way across, and I can go up here and merge. I can use the merge and center, which let me undo that real quick by unmerging. Now I unmerged. Okay, so let's go up here and cell C1, and I'll just I'll enter a title: Sales Forecast 2016. Okay, now let me merge these cells. I'll use the merge and center button and move that completely over. Now I can also format the content within it by making it bold, italicized. I can underline it, change the color if I want, and I can change the font size up here. All this is in the font tab, and I can change the font type. Can I have some blank cells here, so I could but you get the point basically. I mean, we can name this one totals again, and see it automatically filled in our cell format. And this is just kind of our unwanted step cell right there that isn't needed. And we can go ahead and format these. Well, that's the we don't want to format our content that color. Put that back to black. Select our cells and let's format. We'll just give it the same old gray color we had before, and you can add like other borders, thick box border, and you can add a title to this too by merging the cells. You can merge across, and price per hour, and again I could add another, just formatting these cells as I already did. I'm sure you got the gist of it by now. Okay, another thing we can do is we can insert more rows. So let's say we want to go ahead and get to add like a couple more months in September and October. Insert, and you can see that our formats are already in there. Insert September. Now you see how we got to resize our cell for September for that month, and you can just autofill it back over. October, resize that cell. Go through again. This is resize everything, and we can drag our formulas over. Obviously, there would not be just a steady 15% growth. But now you know how to insert columns. You can do the same thing for rows. If you wanted to add another item, you just add it in there, and then you'd have to manually enter in your formulas for that. Now, something I want that you should notice is over here, I entered in 2 new months with content, and since the sum formula I selected a range of cells, it automatically included these 2 cells. Or no, it didn't, so we got to update that. Equals sum. We'll have to include that. So you just got to be aware of changes that you make, because if you make changes and you have formulas, that's something that's extremely important in Excel. You have to make sure when you're referring to cells, because one little mistake, if you add one cell or you change one number, your entire spreadsheet can change and be inaccurate. And so it's extremely important that you're very aware of what cells you're referring to and where you have formulas, and just to double check everything. It's very important to do that. My phone just went off there. Okay, so another thing I'm going to go over is a thing called conditional formatting. Conditional formatting, basically, it can format your cells and your content based on certain conditions. So let me just go ahead and select our totals for each month. I'm going to click on this conditional formatting button right here. I'm going to click the down arrow, and you can see you have different rules. Highlight cells. I can highlight cells that are greater than. Highlight cells that are, let's say, greater than 50,000. And that's a good thing, so I can say how I want them to be formatted. Green fill with dark green text. We want it to be green. Okay, so there, it's conditional. Another thing you could do is kind of like a heat map or something. A color scale right here. Okay, except for that's kind of going the opposite direction. But you just play around with it. I mean, that's really the best way to learn Excel, is to, I'm kind of giving you a start, somewhere to start. You got to play around with Microsoft Excel to really become proficient. And there's thousands of tutorials all over the internet. So right here, I'm giving you, the basics for you to learn. It's going to be your job to go out and if you have to figure out how to do something, you type it in a search. And I also have specific videos that will that get on specific questions, tutorials just for that question in Excel. But you can see that's what conditional formatting is. You can play around with it. You can create your own rules. And it's just something that you have to play around with. But to be efficient, I'm not going to do this because this is going to take up too much time of the video. Okay. Now we also have charts. So you can go ahead and chart your table or your worksheet. And back in 2013, Excel came up with a feature called recommended charts. So what I did, I just clicked inside this chart, my chart. I'm clicking on recommended charts, and that looks like a pretty good chart to me. Except for, sometimes you have to tailor it a little bit. You may want to just go ahead and exclude the totals over here because it's treating those totals as a month. So you have to, know your table. And so right here, I'm selecting what I want to be inserted into the chart. I'm clicking on recommended charts. And now that looks a lot cleaner. Over here, we excluded our totals. I like the way this chart is because it shows, I'll just go ahead and click OK because I like it. Okay, so there's our chart. It shows a bar graph for each item that we're going to rent. And then right here, with a line, it shows our total, so it's mixed. Okay, you can format your charts. You may want to go ahead in here and change the name. Forecast 2016. You can format your title. I'm right clicking. You can change the style. You can change the fill color. And that's just for your title. You can change the outline and go back to style. So you can format everything in your charts. If I want to zoom in into my worksheet, I'm pressing Control, and then I have a mouse with a roller, so I'm just rolling directly in. Okay, so you can click on each feature of the chart and edit that individually, or you can go over and you can change you can remove and add different elements to the chart. Data labels, data table, I mean, it's getting a little bit crowded in there, but you can see I can add and remove different features, so I can customize my chart to how I want it. That looks kind of bare. We don't even know our values, but you get the point. Axis title, if we want, we can add our axis. Over here is our axis title. I mean, it's kind of common sense, dollar value, but you get the point. You can add and change your chart. You know, just mess around with it. Right up here you have chart tools, you have different designs. You can change your chart type. This is a change chart type dialog box. You can go through here and just see every different type of chart that you can use. But again, Excel recommended this chart and it looks to be the best one. Okay, now let me zoom back out. I'm pressing Control, zooming out. I'll move my chart over. I'll go ahead and see I'm moving my little subscribe and share and like. I can move this over, which this is not. This is an item that's inserted into the cell, just like our chart is. I can go over that in a minute. Something that's new with. Okay, I don't want to click on my chart, so I clicked on a cell to get out of the chart design box. Okay, something that's new in Excel is start inking for Excel 2016. I click on that. This is you just play around with it. You can find and you can ink. So right there, I can write something on my Excel workbook. That's supposed to be a thumbs up. Looks more like a heart. Okay, so stop inking. Now, one other thing that I wanted to show you is before I started formatting these cells right here, remember I copy and pasted the sales forecast content into a new tab. I want to show you just a quick introduction to tables. You can select a range of cells that's formatted somewhat like this. Go to Insert. You can click Insert Tables. Now here I'm saying my table has headers. I'm making sure that box is checked because look, I do have headers. March, April, May, June, July, and August. Those are the headers. And there, now I have a table. Now with tables, and then we have this column. I think I found the name for this column. Rentals. No longer the unwanted step column. Okay, so here you can sort, like for March, largest to smallest. But you can do different things with tables. You know, you can come in, sort smallest to largest. The more advanced our table is, this one's kind of generic, the more useful this is. You know, when I do sorting from smallest to largest, it really just, it's always going to be the same every month. but you just see how to insert tables. And you can see also we're having problems with this because our total row, because we have a total row in a table, we don't want to have a total row. So you learn stuff by mistakes too. Okay, so what we would do for a table, I'm going to copy that without the totals. I manually entered in a total row. For tables, you're not going to manually enter in a total row. Okay, so there you have it. We have our table, but our total row is not manually entered. Let me just go ahead and clear all of this. Okay, here's how you clear in bulk. This is actually the best way to learn. You see me goofing up, but because I've used Excel pretty extensively, I know how to fix my mistakes. So over here, I'm selecting the entire range of cells, and I'm just going to click Clear All. I can clear formats, which would do that. I can clear just the content. Now it all goes. Now let me up here's the Undo button, or I can select all those cells, and I can click Clear All. And let me go ahead and clear this range of cells too. Clear all. Now, I'm going to copy and paste. And again, I'm going to copy and paste this. Now, when I'm copying and pasting this is going to work because I'm moving it, I'm putting it in the same relative location. And there. Okay, it wasn't the same relative location. There, now it is. And again, look, I'm going to go ahead and clear all. Okay, so now let's make this a table, finally. Insert table. My table does have headers. Now look, I have a table. I can select this table. Click on Design. I can have banded rows, uncheck it. Banded columns or uncheck it. I can remove banded rows, check banded columns. There's all sorts of formatting options you can do. But you can just keep playing around. I'm going to delete that row right there. So I'm right clicking and delete. But you can just play around with the tables, and you really learn. Like I said, you learn a lot by playing around. Now here's something that I want to show you. Remember that I did not add totals. Right here in the design, I can click under the table style options. I can select the table row. Now I have the total row. Now I have totals. And now you can see in the total row I can select average. That's the average amount of money each month pulled in by each rental item. Or I can do the sum. And then you can see you can sort smallest to largest. So now it's operating correctly, and you learned a little bit about fixing errors and mistakes. I mean, that just comes with Excel. You're going to do things, you got to figure it out. That's what these tutorials are for. Okay, finally, whenever you have your workbook complete, like we do here, you're going to save it. You go to File. Okay, you can save to the cloud. Go to File, Save As if it hasn't been named yet, and you can save to your cloud. You got to be logged in. So then you can access this anywhere. Okay, I already have it named because I've already saved it So I can access this on any computer as long as I have access to the cloud and internet connection. I can also save it to my computer. Okay, and finally, I can share it. I go to File, Share. I can share by email. I can send it as an attachment. And as long as I'm connected, you have to connect through Outlook. But as long as everything's connected, then you're able to send this file directly to somebody else's email. And you can see it's trying to connect right there. So I'm already connected through Outlook. Now I could send this. I can send it to myself and press send, and now I just sent the file to myself through an email. You have the share button up here. You can invite people. Let's see. So you can create an address list, a contact list, and you can invite people to take a look at it. And there's your list. You have an address book, which I don't have anything entered, but it's just a new feature in Excel 2016 of sharing. So that concludes this Microsoft Excel 2016 tutorial for beginners. I hope you enjoyed everything. If you did, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel, share, and like. Like I said, this is just a crash course of Microsoft Excel, but I have hundreds of videos covering specific types of questions that you may have and that get extremely advanced, intermediate, anything you may want to know about Excel, I have on my channel. So please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like this video because it helps with the rankings. I appreciate it.